So here we have the virtual cockpit view of that plane that just came into land, Qantas Flight 580, in Aviation Mapper, the streaming web front end in Google Earth. You can see trails here left behind by aircraft that have previously taken off. They're color-coded to indicate altitude. And if we get out of virtual cockpit mode, then we can get a better view of Sydney airspace. You can see all the trails and the airframe markers. In addition, you can see balloons popping up and little dots that have been left behind. These are actually ACARS messages that are being transmitted to or transmitted by the aircraft themselves. So here we have Rex Flight 472. We can actually see it on approach. The lights blinking up there in the distance as it heads down onto the other runway at Sydney Airport. There's another plane taxiing over there, just beyond the fence line, and that's it there, taxiing about. On the runway, it's preparing for takeoff. Should be able to hear the engine spool up in a moment. It's just coming in to line up correctly. And we have the balloons popping up left and right, indicating messages to and from various other aircraft. That aircraft that's lining up that we have here on the virtual cockpit view is in fact Qantas A380 Flight 1, and it's heading to London Heathrow via Singapore. Looks like it might be heading out now. Interestingly, you can see that the lines aren't entirely smooth, and that's due to errors in GPS as well as encoding errors. Makes for an interesting effect. It's probably quite a full and therefore heavy flight, so it's used up quite a lot of the runway, as you can see, and it's just lifting into the air now. A very slow ascent. Meanwhile, we have another plane coming into land. And I'm not sure whether you can see, but off in the distance, blinking, is that Qantas A380 as it's lifting off into the sky. Here's a little Easter egg. Various ACARS messages actually contain information about subsystems on the aircraft, and this actually includes the status of the toilets. And this is indicated by the lav hard message, lav being lavatory and hard being the failure mode. Whenever there is a message that describes the status of the toilets, it leaves a special marker on the screen so you can easily identify them in amongst the other ACARS messages. H1 are the maintenance, systems and engineering messages. Let's zoom right out now to get a better view of Sydney airspace. You can see there are thick white lines. Those white lines are actually flight plans that have been sent through at the ACARS messages, and they are demarcated by IFR waypoints. So this one is Missit and Boise at the bottom. If we actually click on one of the markers there, you can see the ACARS message that contained that information. There's another one down there, Razzie. let's click on that VHVQG flight, and you can see it probably heading down to Melbourne, and just to the bottom left there are other flights that are coming up and flying out from Sydney. So if we look now in the bottom left hand corner while selecting another aircraft, for example this one here, Victor X-ray Golf, we can see that it's travelling at 453 knots, currently at an altitude of 26,475 feet approximately, and we can see down onto Sydney Airport, flurry of activity, flurry of ACARS messages, altitude is slowly decreasing, and at the bottom there we have the vertical sync rate, so it's showing that it's going to come in to land. Probably veer off to the left and line up for an approach on runway 16 right. So let's just zoom out now to get a rough idea of the sort of coverage of the system as it currently stands. You can see that it covers a large portion of the coast there, and maximum range has been about 500 kilometers. You can see QFA 133 at the very bottom there. That's probably pushing the range on the receiver. It's around about 500 kilometers down there. And ideally, I'd really like to see Aviation Mapper covering the entirety of Australia. You can see, for instance, there's another flight path that's been emitted that covers this western portion of Australia, somebody obviously travelling down here in Western Australia. You can see that there are plenty of ACARS messages and trails missing from the rest of the country, so if you'd like to help by sharing your feeds, please contact me and we will hook it up to the system. Thanks for watching.